Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Fantasy Football Futures Pickem. We're going to release an episode every Sunday morning or late Saturday afternoon. Really haven't decided yet, but we're just going to go over every game on Sunday and what we like for picks gambling-wise. Now, we're not going to take everything, but it's just pretty much deciding what we think, like if we were to take these games, what we would take in them. So let's go ahead and start off with the first games this week. We'll
start with the Steelers and the Bills.
Bills
are favored by 6.5. This is all on FanDuel. Bills are favored by 6.5. Over/unders at 48.5 right now as we speak.
Okay. What do you got there?
So what I would do, this one's a toss-up, but I would actually go with the Bills 6.5. I think this game will stay close until the end. I think that's when the Bills' offense will take over this game. But I'm also looking at that over 48.5. Both of these offenses are pretty top of the league.
Yeah.
Steelers' defense is always there, but Bills is, I would say, mediocre. I think this 48.5, if I'm betting any of this, 48.5 is what I'm hammering.
That's what I would agree with that as well. I think with both teams, they are both like high-powered offenses, and I think the Steelers are going to have to throw the ball a lot to keep up with the Bills' offense. I think the Bills' offense is just too good. The last time they played, I think the score was around 28-15 or something like that. So it would have lost on the over there, but I think this year, and first game being everything and new adjustments, rookies and everything, I think we see that go over 48.5. So I would take 48.5 too. 6.5 points for me is just a lot, especially with how consistent the Steelers have been over the past years.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for those points at 6.5. Been trying to read more into betting and trying to find those like maybe points where you're not losing by half a point, you're actually winning by half a point. When you can get 6.5, if this goes up to 7.5, I think I'm going to go with the Steelers on that one. Yeah, I think it's a close call.
If it continues to grow, I could see. Especially if it gets over 7 points, I'm taking Steelers as well there. So, okay, so that was our first game. Let's move on to the next 12 o'clock game with the Eagles versus the Falcons. The Eagles are 3.5-point underdogs. Falcons are favored in this game. Over/under set at 48.5 points.
So this is actually going to be my upset of the game. Upset of the week.
Upset of the game? Yeah, it's a pretty cool game.
Upset of the week for me. I'm actually going Eagles with +3 and moneyline plus 154. I think this might be more of a personal pick, but I've been screwed over by the Falcons so much.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm a little bit higher on the Eagles than a lot of people are. A lot of people think that there's still going to be another transition year. I'm big on Jalen Hurts. I like Devontae Smith. I think they will be able to put up points against the Falcons. So this is what makes me think the Eagles are going to win. The over/under set at 48.5, just like the other game, and I'm hammering that over as well. I think it's going to be more of a shootout.
Yeah, I agree. Let me go ahead. Did it again. But we'll just keep recording this. I agree. I like the Falcons here at -3.5. They lost. They don't really have any offensive weapons. Mike Davis is someone you can't really trust. And I feel like they're really doing this because it's in Atlanta. I like the Eagles plus 3.5 here as well. I think, and to win the game at moneyline plus, I got them at plus 140. But the line moved, it looked like. So I would take the Eagles here as well to win. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Devontae Smith. I think the defense is a little bit better on the Eagles side. New coach, and I think they're going to be raring to come out firing, especially with how their season ended last year. So I like Eagles 3.5 points, but I like their odds at money line as well. So I think either way you can't go wrong with taking them.
Yep, and that's why I'm going with the upset of the week for the Eagles because I think they're just a better team overall than the Falcons.
Okay, so that's our second game. We'll move on to the next 12 o'clock game, which is your Vikings versus the Titans. No,
the Vikings played the Bengals.
Vikings -3 versus the Bengals, which I think this spread here is insane to me.
Yeah, it was very interesting. You know, the Bengals, they're going to be worst in that AFC North. It's another transition year for them. Joe Burrow's coming off an injury, but the Vikings only being favored by 3 points is very, very questioning to me. But I do love the Vikings -3 here. That's what I'm going with. Over-unders at 47.5. I can see that with both the Vikings offense. They've had their good games. They've had their bad games, especially the starts they had last year was very questionable. So I'm kind of staying away from that, but I do love Vikings -3.
Yeah, I like the Vikings here at -3 as well. I think it's an easy pick for them. The over/under was 47.5. I just don't see Bengals scoring much, so I'm staying away from
That's the
that.
thing. I feel like the Vikings got to score 30 at least for this to hit over.
Okay, so we'll move to the next one with the 49ers -8 versus the Lions, with the over/under set at 45. Who are you taking here?
So I like the 49ers here. I don't like the 8 points.
Yeah.
I know anything can happen.
Especially the beginning. If you're an 8-point favorite, it's a lot of points. It's not college.
Especially week one, where you really don't know. We know Jimmy G's going to be starting, but is he going to be playing the whole game? There's some question. 49ers are a lot better team than the Lions.
Yes.
But I think also the Lions are are going in the right direction. I really like Dan Campbell, and I think this is a game where you're just like riding the Lions off, but they could stay around a little bit longer.
Could be somewhere where the 49ers
it's not a Texans team where everyone's questioning it. I think the Lions are going to be playing together. They're all going to be playing to get another contract in later and being on this team.
Yeah.
I think it could be. You could see a little of a backdoor cover here, but it's going to be. I say 49ers by 10. So if I was betting, I would go with the 49ers.
And that's what I would take 49ers -8 here. I think they're too explosive on offense. Kyle Shanahan's too good of an offensive coach to keep this game close, and Lions really, outside of Hawkinson, don't have much to work with. So I like the 49ers -8 here. I don't think that over-under is going to hit at all at 45. It could. It just really depends on how much the 49ers score. So we both like 49ers here. If it was up to us and if we had to take the game, I'm not touching
that game either.
If I were, I'd take 49ers -8 for sure. Next, we have the Cardinals versus the Titans, and the Cardinals are actually the underdog in this game at +3 against the Titans.
Yep,
with the over/under set at 52.
So this game, I'm really looking at that over. Titans are coming in, have a great offense, defense not that great. They didn't do much to fill the holes with that. So then the Cardinals have a really good offense coming. They're going to take that next step this year. So I can see the 3 points. I can see it being a shootout. So I'm hammering that over 52.5.
That's why, the over/under to me is the more intriguing one here. I think the Titans did go get somebody, but I feel like both offenses are just going to have to. It's going to be a shootout between the two. Especially, like I keep saying that first week over and over again. First week defenses are going to have struggles. Communications are going to be different. They haven't been in a game-like scenario all week or all year because they've been playing like a quarter or two of games. So I like the over at 52.5 here. But if I had to take something too, I like the Cardinals in the upset against the Titans here.
I like that. I would actually go Titans -3.
Yeah.
I think the Titans are pushing to make the next step in the AFC, and they need to start off the right foot.
Yeah.
I think the Cardinals have a little bit less expectations this year because they're in such a great and a great division. But the Titans are looking to win their division, and they need to start off right at the beginning.
And this is where I would almost go the other way. How you talk about buying a point, I would almost buy half a point here to get that 3.5 with the Cardinals because I think it's going to be a very close game. They're going to have a hard time containing Kyler Murray.
Yep.
So I like the Cardinals at +3 or the over at 52.5. So then we'll move to the Seahawks versus the Colts here. This game for me is actually my underdog pick of the week.
Okay.
I think the Colts are a super underrated team. A lot of people don't really realize how good their defense is. And I think with Carson Wentz, they'll be a consistent offense. Especially with him playing this week, I like the Colts at +3, and I got them at moneyline +130. I think they're just going to play a lot better than what people think, and their defense is going to be able to stop Russ. And the Seahawks, every once in a while, I think they'll get a turnover here or there. I think they're going to be the game changer of the game, and I would take Colts +3 or even money line for me. I'm taking a money line.
So I'm kind of opposite. I would actually go Seahawks minus. I'm actually going Seahawks -3 here. I've seen too many times Russ coming out of the season. For some reason, he just always looks great. Looks very prepared.
Yeah.
He has 2 wide receivers that he loves. That he's never had before. 2 great wide receivers like this. And I think the Colts on offense is just a big question mark right now. And their defense can't say anything bad about them. They'll have another great year, I think, and being able to. I can see them holding the Seahawks, but I see the Seahawks coming ahead. That's why I kind of like the under in this game. It's at 48.5.
That's what, yeah.
I can see that under hitting, and maybe the Seahawks getting a touchdown late just to cover that 3-point spread.
That's what the under to me. The over under is hit or miss for me. I think I can see the Seahawks coming out scoring and the Colts having to keep up with them, but I can also see it being Colts defense being very dominant in this game and keeping this points low. So I'm going to stay away from the over-under. I'm going to take Colts +3, and then Colts money line is where I'm going to go with. And you have Seahawks -3.
Yep.
Okay.
And I have and under.
And under. Perfect.
Yes.
So then we'll move to the Chargers versus the Washington football team. This is pretty much a coin flip game right now, according to FanDuel and everything. Chargers are +1. The over/under is set at 44.5. What do you think?
So when I first looked at this beginning of the week, the Chargers were actually favored by 1, but now on FanDuel at this moment, they're actually +1.5 now. So something's telling me, I've been always talking up the Chargers on this podcast, big fan of them, but sometimes you have to go with what Vegas is telling you instead of going for what you want to happen. And I think how high people are on the Washington. They're coming. They have a better offense. Their defense is great. I think the Washington does pull this out at home. I'm taking them at -1.5. The over-under is at 44.5. To be honest, I'm not touching that.
No,
I don't really know what's going to happen with that. It could be
Washington's offense.
Chargers have a great offense, good defense too, but I think it's going to be a very close game, and I think Washington does pull that out.
And that's why I think they're favored slightly because their defensive front seven is so good compared to everything in the league right now. The front seven's young, fast, physical, scary. They can get after the quarterback. They can do everything. And it's at Washington, which traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast is a huge change. So I think that's kind of why we might see the points swaying in that way, especially with it being in Washington's defense. But here, I am also going to go with you and go with the Washington football team at -1.5. I think they'll pull it out. I think it's going to be a defensive game. But I like Justin Herbert a lot in this game to throw a lot of yards and everything. So be on the lookout for that. But I think Washington pulls it out. That front seven, I think, is going to be, if they get after the quarterback a lot, that's going to be the determining factor. They're going to run away with it. So at 1 point is nice to have. So I like Washington there. Over under, like I said, I agree. I'm not touching that at all. So we both have Washington at -1.5. No, we're not touching the over unders there. So then let's move to the Jets versus the Panthers.
So this is actually my lock of the week.
Okay.
I have Panthers -4.5. I think the Panthers are going to be better than what everyone thinks. I think Sam Darnold's coming out. He's playing against his old team. I don't think he got a fair shot there. He didn't have a good coach. I think he's here ready to prove it. Had the best wide receiver core he's ever had against a Jets defense that they cut their best cornerback that they had last year. So that's a weak defensive backs.
The Jets are also the youngest team.
They're very young team.
A lot.
And with the young teams coming off early, they're going to be too excited, going to be not thinking straight. And I think the Panthers can put up a lot of points early and keep that spread not even close. So
do you see it going over the over/under at 44?
Yeah, I think that over hits. I don't know.
I think it hits solely because I think, like you said, Wilson and the Jets. Wilson's going to make mistakes. It's just going to happen. Rookie first game, but I think he's also. My opinion on him has grown substantially over the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to be calm and collective, but he will make those mistakes, and that might turn into a pick six or something like that. But I like the Panthers at -4.5, and I do like the over a lot here. If I'm going to pick between the two, I think I'm hammering that over at 44. Is what I had earlier.
I honestly think the Panthers could put up 30 points at least.
Yeah,
so I think
it'll be, to me, I think it might be like a 31-21 kind of game is where I think it's going to be. And I think the Jets they'll be contenders more than people think, but I think the Panthers run away with it at the end. So I'm taking the over there at 44, and you have Panthers at -4.5.
4.5 is my lock of the week. Yes.
Then we have here the Jaguars -3.5 versus the Texans. We probably don't spend much time on this one. Over under set 45.5. I'm taking Jaguars -3.5. This is like the toilet bowl. Nobody cares. It's going to be a Thursday night game probably at some point in the future.
So, yeah.
I just think the Jaguars are better. Texans have no answer, so I'm going Jaguars -3.
Texans might be the worst team we've ever seen, so yeah, I'm going Jags -3. Not going to bet on the Jags a whole lot this season, but this is one time I am.
Yep.
So
take it. So yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not touching that over under.
Nope.
I don't think there'll be a lot of points scored. I just think it'll be nice.
We'd like to see what Trevor Lawrence does, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's all we need to talk about that game.
Yeah. Then we'll move to the Browns +5.5 versus the Chiefs, and the over under here set at 54.
I'm not touching that spread, 55.5. I do like the Chiefs offense. They're going to be pissed this year. They're coming out that they didn't win that Super Bowl. But the Chiefs and Browns last year in the playoffs, it was a very close game.
Yeah.
And I think the Browns didn't get worse. They're going to be right there with them. But I'm just hammering that over. That's the only thing I'm touching. The spread, I like that at 5.5. If it got to like 7, I would take Browns. Maybe a little lower, I got Chiefs. But right now, I'm just going with the over, 54.5.
And that's what. So 54.5, I think is a big over. I think the Browns defense is better than people think they are.
Mm-hmm.
They played with the Chiefs last year, but still lost in the playoffs. So for me, I like the Chiefs. The line here for 5.5. I think they win by 10 points. I think it's a close game all the way. But then I think the Chiefs eventually pull away with it because that offense with Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. It's just going to be too much for the Browns. And the Browns coming their first game back off that run they made in the playoffs. So for me, I like the Chiefs -5.5 here. And you have the over at 54?
At the 54.5, yes.
Perfect. Okay, and then we'll move to a division game with the Dolphins versus the Patriots. Dolphins are +3.5 and Patriots are -3.5 with the over-under set at 43.5, which is super low.
Yep, so I'm hammering Patriots -3.5. I think the Patriots coming out, Mac Jones he's going to look good. They're ready to start. They're not ready. I'm not want to say start over, but they're ready to get back to where they were. That defense is coming back. It's going to be healthy. They had half of them took a season off, not exactly half of them, but a good amount did. They have a QB that is throwing the ball well. Going to have a nice running back there. I don't see how the Patriots don't win this game and don't get that cover at 3.5. Right now, I have it at 3, and that's what I would take. 3.5, 4. It gets kind of questionable, but that 3, I love that 3.
Yeah, that's what for me. If it's +3.5 here, I think I'm taking the Dolphins. But if it's at that 3 point, I'm gonna ride with the Patriots. Mm-hmm. But I think the Dolphins, their offense will be a sneaky surprise. I think coming out, Myles Gaskin, I think will be the lead horse for them, who will be a shocker, but. To me, he's the best back they have. I think he'll be easily the best playmaker on the field for the Dolphins during that game. Mm-hmm. They'll utilize him, I think, Gesicki, and I think we'll see a big game here out of Waddle. And I think Tua can just manage the game enough to where he can keep it close. And so I actually like the Dolphins at +3.5. That over-under, to me, 43.5, is just, it's hard to bet with that because Patriots aren't a high-scoring team. We don't know what that rookie quarterback's going to look like as well as with what Tua is going to be this year.
Yep, I agree with that.
So I'm going to stay away from that. And then let's move to the Packers versus the Saints here. Packers are -3.5. Saints are +3.5. And the over/under is 50. I love the Packers -3.5. I just don't think you're going to be able to stop Rodgers, Adams over and over again. And the New Orleans without Drew Brees just won't be the same. I know Jameis is there. But he doesn't have a lot to work with outside of Kamara. And, I mean, their best receiver right now is Callaway. And he's unproven in a big-time game yet. So I love Packers -3.5.
Yeah, I think this is where you'll see the Saints and the questions that they have in this game.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a Saints home game, but they're actually not playing at home. Yeah. So it's going to be tough for them. I do love the Packers -3.5. I'm hammering that. I think the Packers are going to win this game pretty easily. I think the Saints will have a fine season, but I think starting the season, you're going to start to see the questions and kind of the holes that they have, especially in that offense. I do think they're still going to play Taysom Hill. They'll have those packages for him. I just don't see it as Jameis Winston going to light up the Packers. Packers defense isn't that great, but I think they'll have a great game plan, and the Packers are just going to score a bunch of points.
That's what I think so too. So I like the Packers here. Then let's move to the Broncos versus the Giants. And Broncos right now are favored at 3 points. and the over-under for that game is set at 41.5, and it is in New York.
New York. Yeah, so I'm going with the Broncos -3 with that point total. It scares me a little bit because Vegas really thinks it's going to be a very close game with scoring. But I think that new Broncos offense is going to look really good. They have a good defense to go with it. Yeah. So I can't trust the Giants. I know they have Barkley back, and I think that if Barkley wasn't there, I can see this being a 5-point favorite, anything like that. But I think they handle Barkley. I don't think Barkley's going to get as many touches as he will later on in the season. And so I'm really liking Teddy Bridgewater and those wide receivers to beat the Giants by at least a touchdown.
That's what I agree with the Broncos going -3. I think the Giants will look better than what they have, but I think you got to give it at least 2-3 weeks to see Barkley get back into that full workload that they want him to be, and then seeing where Galladay's going to be, and then what he can do with Sterling Shepard on the outside and everything. So I like Broncos -3. I think that pass rush defense is going to be too solid. It's going to mess up with Daniel Jones, and he likes turning the ball over. I think he's going to make some more mental mistakes and make some bad turnovers, and that changes the game. So I like the Broncos at -3 as well. That over-under I'm just not touching. I feel like it's going to be a very low-scoring game.
Yep, I think so too.
But then it could also be a weird high-scoring game for some
I could see like the Broncos scoring back-to-back touchdowns in a matter of 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay away from that over-under, and I'm going to go with the Broncos at -3.
Yep.
And then the next game, which is my lock of the week here, is the Bears at +7.5 versus the Rams, with the over-under at 47. My lock is going to be the Bears +7.5. And I just think there's a lot of hype going around the Rams right now because of Matt Stafford, which is all due well. Matt Stafford's, I think he's a very underrated quarterback. But I think you're overlooking the Bears defense. The front seven's really good. Khalil Mack, you got Raekwon McMillan. I think I messed up his name, but solid linebackers. Their secondary isn't the best, but they're also not terrible. And you don't really have any like big guys other than like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I think they're kind of the same person. They're just they're going to reliable, catch you the ball, get you 10 yards. That's what they're going to do up and down the field. But I think the defense will be able to make some stops. The only thing that worries me is how much Dalton and the Bears can score against
the Rams
defense. And that's solely because of Matt Nagy. Can't stand Matt Nagy, but I think the defense will be able to keep them around long enough and keep them, and the offense will get points here and there. And the defense will force a turnover, so I like the Bears at +7.5.
Yep, so I love that pick. I love them at 7.5. I love that number as well. I think it will be the Bears' offense isn't with Dalton. I just don't trust them enough, but I think they will be able to stop that Rams offense. I think there will be a little bit of trouble. I think that Rams offense will be good in the later in the season. I think there will be maybe trying to get Stafford in there, have a whole game behind him, getting with those wide receivers, and then also not really. Do you trust Darrell Henderson back there?
That's what 100%? Their run game to me is a question mark. So that's why
if they're able to stop that pass game, I wouldn't rely on Darrell Henderson to win you a game. No. So I do love that 7.5 from the Bears. I think it's a great pick, and that's what I'm going with as well.
Okay, and then we'll move on to our last game, Monday night game. The Baltimore Ravens versus Vegas Raiders, with the huge news of happening with Gus Edwards and Marcus Peters both tearing the ACLs today at practice. Baltimore has a line change. I have them at -4.
So actually, it's at 4.5 right now.
It's at 4.5 for the
so it's gone up.
The Ravens.
Yep.
Oh man. So what do you got here?
So I was with the Ravens all year, all the whole week. I can't trust the Raiders, but I'm actually going to go Raiders +4.5 here. I think this latest news, just coming days before the game starts, losing their running back, pretty much have no running back at all, and not having good wide receivers, and just losing Marcus Peters as well as your great cornerback. I think the Raiders can kind of maybe find some holes on that defense and score some points. Derek Carr, for some reason, every once in a while, the Raiders can put up a lot of points. Yeah. I think this will happen. They're playing in Las Vegas. I think it's going to be a close one. And Raiders might even have that upset in them and be able to upset the Ravens while they're trying to figure out this whole situation.
And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel like too much has happened to Baltimore. I feel like Lamar can only do so much. That offensive line's great, but I feel like there's just too much happening against the Ravens right now that this close to game time, it's gonna mess something up. Like Tyson Williams has a practice all week. Le'Veon Bell's in there now too. I just don't trust the two of them together right now to step up and be productive for them. So I like the Raiders plus 4.5 here. And after seeing all the news, I could see them winning and going money line with them at plus 172. So
yeah, if they can control Lamar Jackson and not let him get in open field and make him throw the ball. I know that's what probably every defense says, but now he doesn't have a running back to be able to look for, and they don't have to look for that. They can just watch for Lamar Jackson, and I think if they can stop that, the Raiders can win that game easily.
Perfect. So let's go over. We each did one favorite we like, a dog, and then a lock. So my favorite for the week, points-wise, is Vikings -3.
Mm-hmm.
My underdog is the Colts money line against Seattle at plus 130. And then my lock of the week is the Bears plus 7.5.
So my favorite mine is going to be the Broncos -3 over the Giants. That was my favorite.
Yep.
And then my lock is going to be the Panthers -4.5 over the Jets. And my underdog is Eagles money line plus 154 against the Falcons.
Okay, so those are our picks. This was our first Sunday Pickem with us. We'll do this every week. We'll just go over the games on Sunday and give you what we like. And then we'll keep track of our picks on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and everything. We're going to tweet them out. So go ahead and follow those to follow along. But thank you for listening, and hopefully week one's full of a bunch of winners.
Welcome back. Football's back.
Thanks, guys.